Hey Run Junkies, and hey again Laura. You know that phrase, nothing new on race day? Have you ever violated that rule? I have. Not often, but when I did, the results were not pretty. Yesterday, Laura talked a little bit about common race day fears, and a lot of those tend to come up during the taper period when you're just sitting around waiting for race day, going a little crazy. That's when we start to second guess everything we've done in our training for the last several months. Today though, I want to talk about why we try nothing new on race day.
It's Vlogtober with joyful miles and running with grace. It's Vlogtober.
You've probably heard that phrase, right? Nothing new on race day. But why is that a thing? This unwritten rule of running stems from mostly anecdotal evidence, but if you talk to any veteran runner, they will probably have a story to back up that unwritten rule. Now, there are a few basic reasons why you want to stick to that adage, nothing new on race day. On race day, you want to make sure you're only thinking about your race, how you are strategizing each mile, stick to your nutrition plan, have an idea of what your body is going to respond to during your race. If you try on a new shirt, you don't know if it's going to chafe. Brand new socks, you might end up with blisters. Do not alter your nutrition plan. I'm just saying, seriously, like don't, that's just no. Personally speaking, I also have a couple of stories about this particular rule, but there were two instances that as a veteran runner, I still made this mistake, and those stand out because I did know better and I did it anyway. The first one was for the Rock and Roll Marathon in 2014 in Arizona. I had trained well and I thought I had my nutrition for race day dialed in. I would take on a GU every 3 to 4 miles and I would alternate water and Gatorade. Most of the time in training though, I took more water than Gatorade, so I didn't really have it balanced out 50-50. Now, if you look at the nutrition contents of GU and Gatorade, and I'm just saying GU here because that's my preferred brand, but a lot of those gels have similar formulas. There's a lot of carbs and a lot of sodium in both gels and Gatorade. And for the race itself, I just hedged my bets. This was my first marathon. I didn't know what it was going to take to get all the way through it. I took on a GU like clockwork every 3 miles. It was cooler that morning and pretty dry. Of course it is because it's Arizona, right? I wasn't really sweating all that much. I don't sweat heavily and my sweat isn't all that salty. So I didn't really need a lot of sodium. I didn't need that much. But with every other GU I took on, I would take on some Gatorade. So at mile 3, I had a GU and water. At mile 6, I had a GU and Gatorade. And then I repeated that pattern throughout the race. So let's do the math here though. If I'm taking on a GU every 3 miles for a marathon, that's 8 GU. I know I took 8 with me. I'm not sure if I took on all of them as I got all the way through the race, but that's a lot of gel. And with the Gatorade, it was a bit too much. By mile 23, I couldn't get to the finish line fast enough. I was in a lot of pain, not just physically, my legs hurt, but I was really starting to feel a little bit of distress. I crossed the finish line okay, but I couldn't get to the porta potty fast enough. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's just say I didn't know that much GU could cause Montezuma's revenge. Lesson learned, GU is not meant to be your only source of nutrition during a marathon. The next time I'll stick with plain water, thank you very much. The next story I have though is an absolute violation of the nothing new on race day rule. I have no excuses for this. It was for Ironman. It's not like I'm just picking up my first 5K and trying something new for the first time. I had been building up to this for years, not months, but years. And so I get to race day and I try something new. And here's how that ended up. For Ironman Coeur d'Alene in June of 2015, the forecast high was 106 degrees. One of the sponsors that year was Base Salts. A lot of people use these regularly. I had never used salts during any of my runs, any of my rides, nothing. So I've never used them. So why would I try something new on race day? Well, this particular sponsor was given a lot of voice and they were really pushing their product. I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that I was a sucker and I bought a whole bunch of this salt, and I didn't actually try them until I got to race day. I'm about 50 miles out on the bike, and I start taking them as prescribed. You just get a little bit on your thumb, you lick your thumb, and off you go. Well, about 20 minutes later, I am in so much pain from side stitch and cramping. So I actually had to pull over. I'm on my second bike leg, and I have to pull over to the side of the road. I literally could not stand up. My side stitches were so bad. I couldn't hunt. I could barely lean over my bike. Really, all I had to do was take on a little bit of water. Once I flushed some of that out of my system, I started feeling a little bit better. But that was the first time of a few times during that race that I thought I was not gonna make it to the finish line. And it's my own stupid fault. I knew better. I tried something new. I compromised. I completely threw out my nutrition plan for that day. I should never have done it. You make a nutrition plan and you stick to it, no matter how hot it gets, no matter what people say you should be taking on during your race day. Don't do it. You found something that works, stick with it. Now, I want to be clear here. This isn't a slam against base salts or salts in general or anybody who uses salt on a course. There are some folks that actually do very well doing that. I am not one of those people. After I got some water on board, I started feeling a little better. The cramps went away, I got my body temperature down, and I was able to finish the race just fine. But I didn't touch those salts for the rest of the race. The only reason I changed my nutrition plan was because I was worried about the temperature that day. I hadn't trained in heat like that, and I was afraid that it was going to compromise my finish time. So I thought, okay, anything that's gonna get me there. And that was part of the pitch too. This is gonna help you get to the finish line. Well, it had the opposite effect, and it almost compromised my finish line. So nothing new on race day. It's an unwritten rule that's been around for a long time, and it's not backed by research. It's mostly anecdotal evidence, but trust me, just don't. I'm never gonna break that rule again, but my question for you today is this. What are some of the biggest mistakes you've made on race day? Please leave thoughts, questions, comments, and suggestions in the box below, and as always, give me a thumbs up if you like this video. Also, head over to gofindyourawesome.com for more information about nothing new on race day, and don't forget to head over to Joyful Miles. Please subscribe to them as well. You will see tomorrow's continuation of Vlogtober. That's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching. Get out there, go find your awesome. Until next time, happy running.
It's Vlogtober.